Okay, so in this problem, it's very similar to other ones that we've seen. They give us a a cone, and from the cone we have to figure out a certain dimension that's missing. And in this case, that dimension is diameter. Remember that from one side of the circle to the other is diameter. And so they're asking us what the diameter is of this cone. Now they give us some other clues or some other measurements or dimensions. They give us the height of the cone, and this time they didn't put it in the middle of the cone, they just put it to one side, very normal thing. So the height is 9 centimeters. And then we have the volume, 150.8 centimeters cubed. Just to repeat, if they don't put the V or they don't say volume is equal to, you have to understand that that is volume just based on the fact that they put centimeters cubed, units cubed, okay? So, okay, what are we gonna do with that? What are we gonna do with that information that they gave us? Well, I put the formula over here to one side because I'm gonna need more space over here. And I just put the pi right here. So, the real little funny thing is that the formula doesn't have anything to do with diameter. Directly anyway, not directly related to diameter in that sense. Like, it's not like I can solve this and it's going to give me diameter when I'm done solving the formula. In fact, I have to find radius first. I have to find the distance from the center of the circle to the outside edge first, because that's really what the r is. That's what I can actually get to more directly. Once I have the radius, then I can find diameter, because I just got to double it, right? Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So 3.14, radius I just explained is, I'll just go ahead and put parentheses for radius for now. Radius, we don't know. We don't know what the radius is going to be yet, okay? We don't have that in the example here, but we do have height, so I can go ahead and put the height there, another pair of parentheses. Height is 9. All of that will be divided by what? By 3. And this is equal to 150. Oops, not 15. 150.8. Okay. So that's basically how we set up the equation, and now we just got to get to solving it. So I want to try to simplify the numerator. The idea here is to get r all by itself. Okay. And to do that, I have to simplify everything else and move it over to the other side of the equal sign where the 150 is. So to do that, I'm going to start by simplifying the numerator, because there's a lot of stuff in the numerator. There's obviously just one number down here. I'm not worried about the denominator yet. But I can multiply pi times 9. Remember that when we multiply, it doesn't matter in which order we multiply it. The whole numerator is multiplied. It's this times this times this. So I can go backwards, forwards, whatever. But anyway, so on the calculator, I'm just going to go pi. I'm going to use a button like I always do. Pi times 9. And I get 28.27433, blah, 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 right? I'm just going to use 2827, okay? So let's go ahead and put that down. I'm going to I'm going to put the numbers on one side, then r squared. So 2827, or 0.27, I should say. R squared over 3, it's a big long thing, right, is equal to 150.8. So now what I'm going to do now is get rid of the fraction, okay, and I'll go ahead and change colors like I usually do. I got my marker. Okay, so to get rid of the fraction, the only thing I can really get rid of is the denominator, and it's the easiest way, okay, so that's why I say it like that. So to get rid of the denominator is divided to the numerator. So divided by 3. What's the opposite of divided by 3? So I can undo it, is multiply by 3. And I've done this a few times already, so you guys probably know what I'm doing already, hopefully, right? So the point here means multiplication. The 3 and the 3, they can cancel out, so it just means that they can be reduced dividing a common factor, and that common factor is by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And there we go. So 1 times 28.27 r squared is 28.27 r squared. Okay, 1 times anything is going to be that other anything. And 1 times 1 is 1. I'll just do it one more time to show that. But 28.27r squared over 1 is just, or divided by 1 is just 28.27r squared. It's actually really hard to say, but anyway. So they cancel out, leaving me with just the numerator, okay? I don't like my r's. Man, I'm not having fun with those today. Okay. Anyway, equal to 150.8. But what I did to this side, which was multiply by 3, I have to do that to the other side. So let's just go ahead and put a little pair of parentheses here, and we'll say times 8. I'll break out the calculator just because it's kind of a funky decimal, right? So 150.8 times 8 times 8. Why did I put times 8? Did you guys catch that? Jeez, I didn't catch it. Let's go ahead and fix that before we move forward. It's times 3. I multiplied this side by 3. I got to multiply that side by 3, not 8. Gosh. All right. So I have 150.8 times 8. And that equals, Again, I put 8 here. Darn it, I'm messing up. Sorry about that, guys. 150.8 times 3. I fixed it on the board, but I didn't fix it on the calculator. So anyway, here we go. 150.8 times 3 is equal to 452.4. So let's go ahead and put that down. 452.4. Oops. It's kind of the end of the day, guys. Bear with me. So 452.4. All right, so we're getting closer now. We still have r squared that we need to get r all by itself, but we're whittling this problem down. The next step is to get the r squared and the 28.27 separated. So remember that they're multiplied together, okay? Because the r squared is right up against the 28.27. So to separate them, I'm going to divide. And I divide by dividing. And I want to divide by the number that I'm trying to get rid of. And I'm trying to get rid of the 28.27. So that's what I'm going to divide by. So 28 divided by 28 is 1. 1r squared is just r squared. Okay. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. I divide the other side also by 28.27, not 8. Darn it. Okay. So 452.4, right? 0.4 divided by 28.27. Okay. Yeah, see, they're trying to get a good angle here. Okay. Is equal to 16.00. I like that. That's a nice, almost pretty darn exact number, right? So 16. Let's just say it's equal to 16. Just kind of approximating, but when it's 0.00, that's pretty good to say it's 16. All right, so now we're at the last step of the equation. And again, we don't want to know what r times r is, which is 16. We want to know what just plain r alone is, right? So to do that, we have to take the square root of both sides. Square root of both sides. Now, I've said this before. This little house thing, it's called a radicand, and it basically comes built in with a 2. This is the little thing is called the radicand, like without the 2, just the little house. It's called square root, right? So square root is going to be the opposite of something like r squared. So they cancel out. Just so you know, they never put the 2 there because the house itself, the little radicand, its symbol itself means squared. So but I'll just put the 2 there just so you can see it. And so square root is the opposite of a number like r squared. So they cancel each other out, leaving me with just r. Okay? It's a lot of explanation just to say that to put the house over it and then you're left with the r by itself, right? But over here we really have something to show. So the square root of 16 is 4. All right, and I'll go ahead and do it on the calculator so you can see that real quick. Okay, so on the calculator, on this one in particular, the square root symbol is basically this button that says x squared. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. But I don't want x squared, I want the function that's right above it written in green, and that's my little radicand, and I have to put that first. So to get the green function, I have to hit the green button. Okay? So I hit the green button, hit that x squared button, but instead of putting x squared, it puts the little square root symbol with an open parentheses. So inside that parentheses, I'll put 16. I could close it. I could close the parentheses. I'll just do it this time, but really it's not necessary in this case. So square root of 16 is equal to 4. Okay? All right. Now, so we have the radius. The radius is 4, but they asked us for diameter. The radius, so we have, let's see here, I can just write this right here. Our radius is 4 centimeters, and my centimeters are going to be hard to read, but anyway, so it's a 4. But okay, so the radius is 4, the diameter is double that, it's going to be 8, okay? So 8 centimeters. So you can see how it's long, it's a lot of work. It does take time, even with a calculator. It's a lot slower explaining it than actually doing it, I think. Don't get tripped up with the square root, and don't get tripped up with that fraction. I've done it a few times already when we talked about, well, in this same video, and also in pyramids, I talk about that fraction dividing by 3. So let's take a look at a different kind of problem.